Hey folks, welcome to episode 50 of the Weekly Review. 50 episodes deep and still leveling up. Big milestone, even bigger episode. Today we're celebrating G.I. Joe and the birthday of yours truly. This week's show is packed and stacked with a lot of brand new insight from the G.I.JOE Classified team. Let's go! What are the latest G.I. Joe Classified reveals from G.I. Joe Day? What did Hasbro's secret research study reveal about what kids actually like about G.I. Joe? The answer may surprise you. Is there a new Storm Shadow coming to Classified? What's coming next in the retro card line? What are Hasbro's future plans for animal companions? And what secret insights did the G.I. Joe Classified team recently reveal about upcoming figures? As always, we've got answers on all of that and a lot more. Watch until the end, you'll want to hear all the updates and insight from the G.I. Joe Classified team. First up, this is your full report on the G.I. Joe Classified reveals for G.I. Joe Day 2025. Let's get into it. This year there were 3 new digital renders. And first, let's note that usually Hasbro releases these sporadically throughout G.I. Joe Day every couple hours or so. But no one has time for that. We all just want to enjoy our weekends. So in our last episode, on behalf of the community, we implored Hasbro to scrap that terrible idea and release everything all at once. And to their credit, they did that. And we appreciate it. So kudos to Hasbro for listening. And first up, let's talk about the Cobra Snake. This is the Mass Device edition. And I gotta say, the Cobra Snake has never looked better. As one of the 3 Mass Device tie-in releases, this robotic battlesuit is a direct callback to the classic 1983 G.I. Joe miniseries where Cobra used these mechanized exosuits to wreak havoc. This classic series update features an arsenal of interchangeable attachments including a claw, laser blaster, and blowtorch, all from the Cobra Bat, making it a versatile threat on the battlefield. It also includes a missile and dynamic blast effects. The sleek armor pays homage to the vintage look while elevating it for modern articulation and detailing. Whether you're reliving epic cartoon moments or adding to your Cobra army, this snake is a must-have. With its sinister design and its ties to one of the most iconic G.I. Joe miniseries, this is a powerhouse addition to the Mass Device collection. Next, Slice and Dice 2-Pack. The deadliest ninja duo in Cobra's ranks have arrived in classified form. Slice and Dice bring their signature blend of lethal martial arts and menacing mystique to this deluxe 2-pack, loaded to the brim with accessories. Slice, the red-clad master of bladed combat, and Dice, his masked and purple-hued counterpart, come armed to the teeth with an array of weapons, daggers, staffs, battle axes, and more. The pack includes multiple masks and alternate face portraits, letting you customize their look for battle. These 2 are more than just henchmen, they're fearsome warriors who have served Cobra Commander and even Storm Shadow at times. Their striking colors and intricate sculpting make them stand out on the shelf, and if you're a fan of Cobra's deadliest assassins, this is another must-own set that brings pure 90s ninja chaos to your collection. And finally, the Awe Striker and Crankcase. Forget third-party knockoffs that are double the price. The G.I. Joe Classified Awe Striker looks outstanding. It's the ultimate battlefield dune buggy, and Hasbro's absolutely nailed this Classified series update. Staying true to its original 1985 design, this fast and rugged all-terrain vehicle is built for high-speed recon and strike missions. It features an articulated suspension, a detailed roll cage, and a mounted cannon, making it the perfect ride for G.I. Joe's desert and jungle ops. The included driver, Crankcase, he looks awesome, sporting his signature vest and tactical gear. He comes equipped with 2 helmets, one for combat and one for driving, plus a toolkit, glasses, a travel coffee mug, a visor, and more. This is nostalgia perfected, with modern sculpting and accessories bringing the Awe Striker into the 6-inch world. Whether patrolling the battlefield or racing into action, this vehicle is yet again another must-have for any collector looking to recreate or relive classic G.I. Joe adventures. But let's turn this over to you. What's your reaction to the brand new reveals from G.I. Joe Day? Did they live up to the hype? Do you appreciate having everything all at once? And which one is your favorite? Are you getting them all? Post your instant reaction in the comments below. Next, according to Lenny from the G.I. Joe team, during the early days of Classified, Hasbro ran a secret study to find out what designs kids would be into. And get this, Lenny said the early Storm Shadow design from G.I. Joe Operation Blackout, which never made it to Classified, instantly rose to the top of Hasbro's lists based on what kids said. It was the runaway #1 design out of everything in G.I. Joe. But after Hasbro's pivot to vintage-inspired designs, this futuristic Storm Shadow from Operation Blackout had to be sidelined before it could be released. Hasbro pivoted to a more vintage-based look for Classified, re-released some of the Wave 1 figures as re-decos, like Duke, Roadblock, and Scarlet, and they also canceled plans to release the Storm Shadow and sci-fi characters from the video game. A classic vintage-inspired Storm Shadow was later released in 2022, and this explains why there was a very noticeable 2-year delay before Storm Shadow joined the line. As we know, the production process for Classified takes 18 months from design to release, so this timeline with Storm Shadow being cancelled and then eventually brought back as a vintage-style release, it totally adds up. Now it's also worth noting that the Operation Blackout Storm Shadow was made, just not for Classified. This right here is the Hiya Toys 4-inch figure of Storm Shadow. It uses the original design that Hasbro made and was going to use for Classified, inspired by the Operation Blackout video game. The good news for fans of Storm Shadow, Lenny and Tony from the G.I. Joe team said that there's a possibility that this Storm Shadow design is eventually brought to Classified. Now let's stop for a moment and make this very clear. Their comment does not mean that it will happen for sure, but they did say it's a possibility. So if there's enough interest from collectors, then there's a chance that the futuristic updated Storm Shadow might finally see the light of day. If you're interested in this modernized Storm Shadow, let us know in the comments. I'm truly curious how many collectors have moved on, how many were never interested in the first place, and how many were disappointed that it was never made for Classified. Whatever your thoughts are, sound off in the comments. Next, Lenny explained that the idea behind the retro card line was to satisfy the audience's appetite for retro-inspired figures, while also pushing the modern updates featured in the Classified line. In order to serve all audiences, Hasbro chose to run 2 different lines, exploring new ideas with Classified, and adding a new extension to the line with the retro card figures. The idea behind the Classified series in 2025 and beyond is now taking advantage of the opportunity to push the original designs and offer a new twist on what fans are used to. And the retro card line allows for vintage products that draw on nostalgia. This year, there will be 3 more waves of retro card figures. The first is Flint, CoverGirl, and Televiper. The next wave should be Breaker, the G.I. Joe Green Shirt, and Cobra Bat. But let's turn this over to you. Which retro card figures do you want to join the line this year? Everyone is waiting for Retro Major Blood, and there are a lot of other great ideas like Range Viper, Firefly, Roadblock, and how about Arctic Mission Storm Shadow? A lot of collectors missed out on the Walmart exclusive Range Viper, whereas the mainline Firefly had a lot of quality control issues for most collectors. And Arctic Mission Storm Shadow was an Amazon exclusive that was very difficult for many to get. It was early in the line, production numbers were low, and this also suffered from a loose torso. And not only that, it also had the same limited articulation as the Storm Shadow from the Snake Eyes movie. This includes not having a shin swivel, which results in the figure having a hard time to stand up, and also posing in awkward positions due to problems with the legs and feet. These issues were not factory defects, they were the result of the poor design. That said, all issues aside, this is a very striking Storm Shadow. It's Storm Shadow version 3. I still think it's one of the best looking Storm Shadows we've had in the Classified line. It's just a shame that it all didn't work out. So we feel that all 3 of these would be welcome additions to the retro card line. And of course the retro Roadblock with all of his signature weapons. That's one that a lot of fans have been waiting for quite a while, even though it's going to look very close to the heavy artillery Roadblock. But we want your opinion. Drop your retro card wish list in the comments below. And if you agree with us about any of the figures I just mentioned, let us know. Whether it's good or bad, Hasbro's G.I. Joe team does keep an eye on what Viper Island viewers are saying about Classified. It helps them make changes, correct mistakes, and move the line forward or closer to what collectors are really wanting. So if you don't speak up, you really can't complain. The G.I. Joe team also has the impossible task of trying to please a fan base that's grown and multiplied over the last 40 years, with many diverse tastes and preferences. The more feedback we give them, the better G.I. Joe Classified can be for all of us. Next, Lenny from the G.I. Joe team has said that they get a lot of compliments on their animal companion figures, and Lenny in particular said that he loves having a warthog and a pit bull together in a line with a crocodile. How wild is that? He wants to keep making more animals for the Classified series, and he says that they bring a lot to the 1/12 scale and create a different universe than if it was just the human figures. Lenny also mentioned that he's working on another pet, but he can't reveal anything about it right now. So this confirms that more pets are on the way soon. If you have a guess who's next, post your predictions in the comments. So far, there have already been 16 animals created for Classified. Yes, 16. There are 2 eagles named Freedom and Nile, a parrot named Polly, 3 crocodiles, Fiona and her 2 baby crocs, a king cobra, which is Serpentor Snake, 2 wolves, which is both versions of Timber, a Rottweiler who is of course Junkyard, a warthog named Porkbelly, a macaque monkey named Yabo, both of these belong to Nagahide, a pit bull named Raucous, a polar bear for the Mass Device Snake Eyes set, a German Shepherd, that of course is Order, and a falcon named General Ledger that belongs to Raptor. New animal companion sets that we're expecting in the near future include the following: Voltar and his Vulture. He's from the Iron Grenadiers, and we think you should keep an eye out for him later this year. Then there's also Spearhead and his Bobcat Max, Dusty version 2 and his Coyote Sandstorm. And how about the Desert Scorpion and a Mechanical Scorpion? And it's very likely that the Hasbro team is also designing some new animal companions that we've never seen before. What I want to know is, how is Hasbro going to top a polar bear? Is there another large animal that you'd like to see for Classified? Let's be real, as good as the G.I. Joe Classified figures are, the animals are definitely stealing the show in many ways. So we want to hear from you. What animal companion should Hasbro consider? Given how incredibly detailed the sculpting of Classified can be, I want Hasbro to make a lion for the G.I. Joe Classified series. Here's why. Based on how detailed many of the Classified figures' beards and shaggy hair have been, it's undeniable that a lion would look absolutely stunning, with a large mane, some battle scars, muscular legs, and thick, heavy paws. Judging by the releases so far, odds are good that there would be 2 head sculpts, one looking stoic, and the other growling or roaring while baring his teeth. Who wouldn't want to see that? As for which figure would be paired up with a lion, I'll leave that up to you. It would definitely be a natural fit for the jungle-themed Tiger Force. Sign me up for something out of left field like the King of the Jungle, a deadly-looking lion. Lately, I think we can all agree that G.I. Joe Classified is crushing it with the animal companions, so it's exciting to hear that Lenny has a new one on the way very soon. 2 of my favorites, Raucous and Junkyard, ranked very high on our top 10 list for 2024, but if there's one standout, I feel like Junkyard deserves the spotlight. There's something cool about Junkyard. He's got a protective vest on. You can actually slide that off. In order to do that, warm him up first, but you can pop these legs off so that he's got no arms. Slide this right off the body. It is a little snug, and now that it's off, we've got the old school retro look for Junkyard.
It looks really good.
So there are a lot of cool details all over Mutt. Junkyard is a sculpting masterpiece so far from what I can tell.
Yeah.
But while Dex is checking out Junkyard, let's talk about Mutt. So this is the modern update with a vintage-inspired look. I love it. This is one of my favorite figures when I was a kid, and like I've said before in many other videos, Mutt and Junkyard was the first ever action figure that I had to have. It was a must-own for me. The big difference is, with Classified, we're getting a modern update, so there's a lot of new sculpting and molding and a lot of more realistic details all throughout all of this.
Yeah.
Mutt has a grizzled face, he's growling and he's baring his teeth, and he has just enough stubble on his face to give him some 5 o'clock shadow. Now, it's very subtle, but if you look on his left cheek, he's got some scarring there. It's not too noticeable. The paint apps don't show it off like a lot, but the scars are there. I'm assuming that came from battle with like a dog. Who knows? Mutt comes with extra hands for posing purposes. That's something we definitely like, especially with a deluxe figure like this. Comes with a lot of accessories here. In total, he has 8 hands. That's pretty awesome. And these can be used for different commands and call signs for directing Junkyard. And I said there's a lot of new here. Well, let's get into it. Mutt's head, helmet, face mask, vest, gloves, and his dog training bite sleeve are all brand new sculpted parts. And this is one of my favorite vests overall for Classified right here on Mutt. It's got so much sculpting and all kinds of contours and little divots. Straight down the middle, there's a black sculpted zipper. Very nice. There's some clips on the side to attach with like little tiny straps. Then for that badge, it's a silver badge. It's got a gold star and a gold crest around the outside as well. And throughout the vest, even though there's not a lot of paint apps on the pouches, a dark wash could bring that out in a big way. There's still a lot of black paint all around the brown leatheriness of this vest. So that gives it some nice contrast and a lot more definition with all the sculpting here. On the back, he's got some Kevlar pads. Nice touch, plenty of pouches throughout the whole vest and around his belt as well. Speaking of the belt, there's a pepper spray canister right here on the side on his left hip. Now this happened with Shockwave, but once again there is no loop for this nightstick to go in. So it appears that Mutt will have to carry all of his accessories. Not a big deal, but it would be a nice touch if they put one little loop of plastic somewhere on this, probably on the belt. In terms of accessories, he has a silver bladed knife. Then he has an M16. This is the same exact one that Grunt came with. Only difference is this has green paint apps on it, and it matches Mutt very well. Then there are the 8 hands that he comes with, like I mentioned. He's got 2 different pairs of goggles. One can go over his head. The other one can go on top of his helmet. And he's got a pistol that also has some green paint apps along the top. So overall, I mean, there's a lot here, plus his muzzle. And this muzzle is no joke. Like, there is a lot of intricate sculpting on it. I don't know if you've noticed the sculpting on this Dex, but
yeah, it's really good.
It looks futuristic almost.
Yeah, this is a really good figure. I like all the different like paint apps and everything he has. I like the protective padding on the gloves though, because it looks pretty cool for a detail. I also like all the face gear that goes on, like the goggles, the helmet, and the mask.
Now with his nightstick, that is the same one that comes with Shockwave. We know that Law and Order is probably going to have one too. The articulation on this guy, I mean, this is great. It's so smooth. It's smoother than timber. It feels like actual dog fur, if you know what I mean. Junkyard's protective vest has a handle on the top. I like that for posing purposes. It's also got a lot of really cool sculpting and straps all around. All these clips. Again, this would benefit from a dark wash as well. Bring out a lot of the sculpting that's on here. And he's got a nice dog collar that again has really nice texture with these silver spikes. Overall, you can have the old school Junkyard, but you can also have the modern update to it as well.
I think they did a really good job on him though.
Now, which version of Junkyard do you prefer? The modern update or more like the Sunbow animated style that's, you know, just
I like
clean?
The more original version.
You like the animated style, yeah. I think I'm leaning towards that too. Man, this is such a great version of Junkyard. Definitely the best version we've ever received. This Rottweiler is hands down my favorite pet in the entire Classified series. He has so much character and personality in both expressions. The articulation is great, and the pared down look without the protective vest, this harkens back to the animated series, and this is my preferred look for him. But with or without the vest, Junkyard just stands out. Separately, Mutt and Junkyard are memorable in their own ways, but together, they rival Snake Eyes and Timber and Crocmaster and Fiona. At this moment, Mutt and Junkyard are my top pick for the best figure and pet combo to date. Let us know if you agree or disagree down below and why. I would love to know how you guys feel about this set, and if you're already a fan of Mutt and Junkyard, I think you're going to enjoy this 2-pack a lot. When we take a look at the back of the box, like Dex said, there's some nice artwork on there showing Mutt and Junkyard in action. They're in a swamp environment, and creeping up behind them is a crocodile. Some have speculated that this is Fiona, but it's not. This is nothing more than a reference to the episode Cobra's Creatures from the animated series, in which Junkyard is turned against Mutt with a high-frequency device before a crocodile in the swamp makes a move on Junkyard. Mutt intervenes, and he saves Junkyard. The two reunite. This is just a fun reference to the cartoon series.
Now, what would you rate Mutt out of 10?
It's hard to give him a rating because he's kind of a plain figure, and then there's the awesome vest and all the awesome accessories. The face sculpt, I see what they're doing, very expressive. Not my favorite face sculpt, but I still like it. But it would have been nice to have a plain face sculpt. I think that would raise my rating here quite a bit more.
They gave a lot of hands, but they should have done more.
You know what, though? My favorite look is where he's all geared up with the muzzle on his face, the sunglasses, the helmet kind of hides the face, and it's a good head sculpt. But overall, I'm going to have to give him an 8.5. And I feel like I'm off on that too, so I might change that rating down the road. For now, it's an 8.5 that might go higher at some point.
For me, it's an 8.
Really good figure. Then we come to Junkyard. What would you give Junkyard out of 10, Dex?
A 9.5.
Everything on this guy is so smooth. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to give him a 9.5 as well. Junkyard's definitely the highlight here. We want to hear from you guys. Sound off in the comments. Let us know your reaction, and let us know what you would give these guys out of 10. And there you have it. You've made made it to the end of this episode, and we really appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. And we would love it even more if you take just 1 second of your time. Make sure that down below you are subscribed to the channel. We ask that you do, because that guarantees that we definitely get to see you back here again next time. Thanks for tuning into Viper Island, your one-stop shop for all things G.I. Joe. When there's relevant news, we'll be here to discuss all of it, together with you. Thanks for watching, thanks for supporting, have a great day, and yo Joe!